All right, guys, welcome to a podcast from Musicians Forum. This is our 12th episode, and tonight's a little unique. I'm out in the garage here. I'm a different location than I normally am, and I got my brother Mike Fields here joining us remotely. So we're on a kind of a weird screen situation here, but we made it work. Excited to have Mike on. Been trying to make it work for the last couple weeks, and one thing leads to another. But we finally, it's like, man, we're doing it. We're gonna make this thing happen. So
Absolutely, brother.
that's right. So very, very thankful to have you on here, man. I'm gonna change the screen here. I know you can't see what I got, but I'm gonna move this around here so make you big screen. Well, how are you, man? It looks like you're sitting out on the porch. You're enjoying this warm weather.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's been a beautiful last few days. So, I get out here and try to be outside as much as I can. So,
I hear that.
but thank you for inviting me, brother. It's I'm very, very proud of you guys for what you've been doing with Musicians Forum and all. So, again, thank you. It's great to be here.
Oh man, I'm good. Well, I wanted to talk to you because it looks like you might be getting back in the game here real soon. I've seen you sharing some music, a lot of cool music. So talk to me, what's going on? So who are you listening to right now? What are you working on?
Man, as far as influences and everything, I've really been listening to a band out of Canada called Big Rick. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Ian Thornley is the guitarist and singer for that band, and actually a Berkeley guy. So that band's incredible, brother. I've been listening to them. Rival Sons is another band I really like. It's doing some great rock and roll. Yeah. Oh man, they're killer. Jay, their singer, is just amazing, man.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, it says rock music's dead. No, it's not dead. It's out there. You got to dig for it a little bit, but yes, it's there.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
That's it.
Are you hitting the pads or what's going on there?
Man, yes, I have been. And I'll be talking about my amputation and everything, but actually designed something for my drum kit where I am an amputee. My right leg was amputated above the knee. So I designed this thing. I call it Bob the Groove Stomper, right? It's pretty cool. It's a pad that is hinged to my seat. And so when I sit down, this pad has a rod that runs down to the kick drum pedal. So I've been teaching myself to use my left foot or my right foot for kick. And, man, that's, drumming is something, regardless of what happens in life. I've been doing this since I've been 6 years old. So, when this happened to me, I didn't accept it. I said, no, life might be kicking my butt like this, but I'm going to kick life's butt. You stand back and watch. So I've, through this 1 year now that I'm coming up on of my missing leg, I haven't let that stop me, Greg. I've actually given me a lot of fuel. That was when I was at Cardinal Hill. That was my desire, was to get back into drumming and figure out a way to do it. You know.
Well, man, yeah. I know you've gone through so much, and we as musicians, all of us kind of have unique challenges, and yours is to the utmost physical challenge that any of us, but then you got that psychological challenge, that mental challenge that you have to wrestle with daily. What has it been like? Because I know this is like going to be a deep conversation. So if you guys aren't up for deep conversation, you guys might want to check out. but this is something I do want to hear, Mike, because I think not only is it something for us to understand what you've gone through, but for those of us who may go through it or similar type of things, know how to combat it, come back kicking. So, talk to us about it, man.
Okay. Well, guys, what happened last year, April 15th, I woke up from, a regular sleep. I went to bed normal. As me, I'm a drummer, very active outdoors guy. I love hiking. So I wake up this morning on the 15th, and my right leg is hurting so bad I couldn't walk on it, Greg. It was the worst pain I'd ever felt, and I put it off. And finally, the next day, I went to Corbin Hospital. And if you guys have been in the ER, it's usually slow and takes forever. Within an hour, they came in and said they was airlifting me Life Star to Lexington, Kentucky. So at this point, I do know that there's blood clots involved. Doctors are not telling me a lot at this point. So we fly and land on the top of UK hospital, and I'm swarmed by 6 people. Uh, I've got 4 IVs in my arms at this point, and basically what happened, Greg, is I had 2 blood clots in my sleep that went to my leg and burst, and I had 3 more blood clots in my groin that was getting ready to possibly go to my heart or brain, which would have killed me instantly. So I was, it happened so fast, Greg. I went to bed normal, and this was a freak thing. It was not related to me being a diabetic or nothing like that. So never had surgery. And in these next 7 days, guys, I'm just going to be graphic and honest. What they did, they cut my calf muscle to the bone on both sides. I was filleted open, and they was packing this. And yes, as you can imagine, it's the worst pain you could have felt. And they came and told me I was going to have I was watching my own foot, Greg, die. I literally watched my toes turn black, and the pain I was in was horrendous. So when I went into surgery, they said there's a chance, it could be a blow, a blow the knee. So when they went in there, there wasn't, there was no chance of saving my leg below the knee. So they had to do just above. And Greg, I can tell you as a man, coming out of that surgery, when I lifted that sheet and seen, it absolutely crushed me. It crushed me and took me down. It was I was left now at this point. I've had 2 legs my whole life. Now I don't have a leg, and I decided right there. I said, and I'm a Christian guy, and sorry about that, guys. I'm outside, but I'm a Christian guy, and I basically said, Lord, I can't do this. I can't do this on my own. I gotta let you take the wheel and show me. And so I did. I put my faith in God at that point. I dried my tears up. The next day, I told them, I said, I want a walker. And they said, you can't do that. And I said, well, why can't I? I got one leg. I can hop on that, So I'm hopping around one leg in this walker the next day, and it blew the people's minds. I got into Cardinal Hill pretty quick after the surgery. And at Cardinal Hill, Greg, I'd said it in my mind, and I told the doctors, I said, look, I'm going to play drums again. And they was kind of almost talking to me like, well, it's nice that he's got goals. No, I meant it. So I was at the hospital, and my old Facebook account, guys, I was doing this stuff live. And so good friend Caleb Gilbert came and visited, brought me a practice pad, sticks. Well, I was kicking on the floor with my left foot, and I was doing jazz and funk, immediately. And the doctors was blown away. They brought in their staff and said, watch this guy. So I became, during my stint, my 4 weeks at Cardinal Hill, I kind of become the motivator for other amputees. And Greg, things happen in life. I never went to bed, thinking that this was going to happen to me. I was blindsided, and you have to walk. I'm a firm believer in this. You have to walk in somebody's shoes to really understand sometimes, and so it is. It's been a struggle, but it's been a blessing, brother, because, it did motivate me. And that's what got me out of this wheelchair that I was in, and got me with 4 months I had a prosthetic leg. I was learning to walk. Yeah, I fell down plenty of times, but I learned to walk again. And I designed, as I said before, something that I could play drums. And what's cool is with my journey, I get this video one day, and it's Dave Abruzzi, who was the drummer for Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
And he'd sent me a video basically crying, and he said, man, I can't imagine, I don't feel sorry for you. He said, I respect you, because I can't imagine as a drummer losing a leg and still going, And so we've become good friends. since then. And what it was, Greg, this is how the musician circle works. Uh, there was a lady that plays bass, and she lived in Lexington. So I was gigging with Shotgun 12 and Sevenfold in these bands. I met her, become good friends. She was a fan of my play, and vice versa. So she moves to California in 2001, and now she's a session player, and that's how Greg Abercisi found out about me, was through her.
That's awesome.
So,
Full circle.
yeah, I mean, so it surprised me too, and so I quickly found, Greg, that sometimes in life we can get dealt some of the worst circumstances, but that will make us the best person, and our testimony and our journey, people watch that. And so if somebody watches my journey and their spirituality is enlightened and they're motivated, then to me, it's worth everything I've been through, to see that.
That's awesome. Well, man, I appreciate you sharing that. I know that's kind of vulnerable to talk specifically about those things, but we can't just, I guess there's no way to really stress how much of a life change that you went through, and just to come out on the other side with positivity. We're so thankful that you're here with us, that those other two clots didn't make their way, so we got more music
Absolutely.
to make,
That's right. We're not finished, brother.
So what's been fun? So we're in 12th episode in, and I've had some of the coolest conversations with folks, and almost every one of them brings up your name because they, in some form or fashion, they've played with Mike Fields, or Mike Fields got them in somewhere, or it's just been super cool to hear your name come up through the journey of, I want to say, the last 15 years of music here. Would you say 15?
Yeah.
12 to 15?
Yeah.
Okay.
Around there.
Yeah, so name drop. Talk to me a little bit. So when you started playing, so you dropped some names earlier, Sevenfold and a couple others. What was it like when you started out? So, you said you started out at 6 years old, but once you kind of got into being able to drive your own car and drive to gigs and play, who you're playing with, what are you doing?
Okay, I'll kind of give you a little brief history, but when I was about 14 years old, I got into heavy metal. Metallica, actually my cousin was from Detroit, so before Metallica did a video for the Injustice for All album, they had Master of Puppets.
Yep.
So he gave me that cassette, and it absolutely changed me, because at that point I've been listening to a lot of Led Zeppelin. I listened to Van Halen at that point, but hearing that Metallica and that, just the, man, it was different. It was different than anything I'd ever heard. So at 14, I actually got turned on to that. About 15 years old, my first band I was in was called Victims of Society. We was doing old thrash stuff like Anthrax, DRI, Metallica. And so that was my first band. We basically, like everybody else, we played in a garage. We'd sweat our tails off in the summer because there wasn't no air in there. Yeah. But, that's where, and I was a horrible drummer. At that point, I'm young, I'm about 15, but still I was young. So that band was a game changer for me, because that's when I started focusing on pocket and things. And around that time, I'd also got turned on to a lot of new music to me. I was listening to Earth, Wind and Fire, The Meters, Tower of Power was a favorite of mine. David Garibaldi, the drummer for that group's freaking amazing.
Penny.
So, yeah, the groove, man. And so around that time is when I started learning a lot of rudimental stuff. And, by the time I play in this band, and I play a couple of bands like that, and then I started playing with some older guys than me, and we started doing Southern rock. So it's more of an Allman Brothers, Skinner, Marshall Tucker vibe. And that band was big because that was the first band I actually played a club with. And so we was doing a lot of the standard covers, but we was also writing. So I'd started writing songs with this band. My first song I ever wrote. So it was that was a really good experience for me. And I tell everybody back then, Greg, around here, Jellicoe, Tennessee was wet, so they had clubs down there, right?
Yeah.
And so that was my introduction to the scene, was really through Jellicoe and meeting these cats that had played for years, V. Lil Raider and people like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started, at this point, my groove had came along, I guess my style, you'd say. And so I started getting calls a lot. And I'll tell all my friends this too, man. If you're a drummer, it's cool to jam with other drummers, but play with musicians, man.
Mm-hmm.
Play with different bass players, guitarists, different genres, man, and extend your palette a little bit. And so with that was my introduction. I'm sorry, guys. I'm out here and there's actually a motion light, but
Keep moving.
and it's not. I set this thing to stay on, but it's not. So if you see me waving my arms, I'm just trying to get the light. But so yeah, I play with those guys, and then I'm at a record shop in Corbin called Soundtracks at the time, and I see this flyer for this band doing like heavy metal, doing Deftones, Korn type stuff, and it's all original music. And I recognized one of the names was Logan Powell. And so I called him up, and sure enough, it was Logan's number. He said, yeah, man, come and jam with us. So we actually set up Shotgun 12, set up at the guitarist's girlfriend's house. And I played the song, and it was just a jam session. Well, they quit after that song, and they said, well, we got to go talk. We'll get up with you. And I thought, man, I probably ain't going to get this gig. And Logan comes back to me. He says, hey, man, you want to play for Shotgun 12? And I'm like, yeah, of course I do.
Yeah.
So I got with that band. And during this time, you got to remember, London was a lot different and Corbin, because they was not wet towns, so there wasn't really venues to play. And we was playing in Richmond, Kentucky quite a bit, did some shows in Louisville, Lexington. And, our fan base started growing. I started seeing this change, and, it got bigger and bigger. At that time, you got to remember, before, most bands that played out did nothing but cover songs. And here in Shotgun 12, we're doing all original. So Greg, it was something to watch, because the numbers just started getting, this group is growing. And so we got to the point where we would rent venues out locally here, and, the community center up at London and stuff. And we would put on shows, and we might have 6 to 8 bands on the bill. And Mike Slyer, that you interviewed with the C's a few weeks ago, Mike and Logan was in Shotgun 12. And Mike was always amazing at promotion. So we started having these gigs, and we was having 600-700 kids to show up,
Wow.
and all they want to hear is original music. So it was a very special time. I played with Shotgun 12 a couple of years and really got attention. We did a showcase up in Lexington. There was, I think, representatives possibly from Roadrunner Records there and everything.
Oh, wow.
So we was getting attention, and I ended up joining Shotgun 12, or rather Sevenfold, after that.
Mm-hmm.
And Sevenfold was a little different band. They was doing a little bit more progressive type music, and same thing with them. They had a big following, and so that period, a lot of the bands you see out here right now, those kids came to our shows. So it's been pretty cool to watch over the years and see how, we was kind of the rebels. We was the people renting these places out regardless of what people said, and we was putting on shows, and we was bringing that music to Eastern Kentucky, because these kids had to travel 2 and 3 hours to a gig to watch somebody, and now we're bringing it to their back door. It was a really special time for the scene. So over the years, I ended up at one point moving down to the Tri-Cities in Tennessee, and we play with a few artists there that was pretty big. So over the years, since Shotgun 12 and Sevenfold, I've played in several bands and done a lot of session work. So I've been very blessed, man, as a drummer. And I'm still blessed, even losing a limb. God give me the strength and knowledge and talent to keep doing it.
Mhm.
And that was huge for me. That was huge to see. I was at Cardinal Hill, and I'm imagining in my head, I'm going to design this thing, and I'm going to play, and sure enough, I set my mind to it, and I done it. So yeah, that's kind of it. It was a really, I think during that period of late '90s, early 2000s, there was a lot of things that happened in this area, and it had a big influence. And we see that today, even Greg. You got bands like Mr. Lugosi right now that's incredible,
Mhm.
that's doing some great stuff, and they're kind of following that same pattern that we did. They're bringing the shows to the kids. So
I
yeah,
just saw um, their tour list for this year. I just looking today, Mr. Glossi, and they're playing all over. I mean, they're getting
oh
booked.
man,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, Macy's a good dude.
Yeah, he
I've
is.
known him over the years, and super cool. Great vision for this band. They because it's a visual thing and music.
Yeah.
They put on a show. So
Have you met Mark?
that's great.
Have you,
I have not. We've talked through
mhm.
Facebook a little bit.
He's an awesome guy. I mean, and like you, his background is so varied. He can do just about any style, but he's definitely a showman and loves to rock it out. So I think like you, I'm excited to see what they'll do. And that's a genre that's hard. It's very hard to
Yeah.
get shows, but they're getting shows and they're playing, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, and what I heard actually their latest release. I got to hear that, and I was just blown away as
Mhm.
soon as I heard it. It's great to see artists that's taking chances still.
Mhm.
It's easy for us, especially as we get older as musicians. We kind of fall into this. Oh, I'll play with the guys and do some cover
Mhm.
songs, and you know, so it's good again to see people. It's got that fire, and I'm all about original music. I always have been,
Mhm.
and so it's great to see an artist out there right now in 2023 that's still, after this pandemic and all the stuff we've been through, that's still making great music. So
Absolutely. And
yeah,
I'm excited for the area. Jessica Blankenship's got a cool series out at Heritage Hills
oh, yeah,
that has the kind of acoustic singer songwriter thing going on, and that is hard to sell too, because I mean when you get a guy in acoustic and you say play 3 hours at a bar or play 3 hours at a restaurant, it's tough. But when you have a true show and you say I'm going to bring people in and these people are going to sit and they're going to enjoy listening to what you have to sing, original stuff, that's
right.
that's the meat of it, and I think sometimes we do a disservice to musicians because we want them as background music too. If it's a bar or if it's a restaurant or if it's something else going on, you're saying, well, just kind of fill the air with some music and make sure we can tap our toe to it. There's
Yeah.
so many great artists that give them a moment and they have some really great music. you know
Right, right. And with this area, we've been blessed, man. I mean, this area has always had great musicians, and I don't know what's in the water in Eastern Kentucky, but man, there's some amazing
Mhm.
drummers out here. You got Keith Green, that plays with practically everybody.
Mhm.
Uh, David Adams, another great drummer
Stellar.
that's been, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
amazing player. So it's like we've always in this area. It seems like we've always been blessed with that. So
Well, here's the
it,
thing.
it, it
They're hard to get. So you got Roger Miller. He's another great drummer. You got Dave. You've got Dave Grigsby. You've got Keith.
oh, Dave
You're,
Killer too, man.
yeah, yourself, and you guys. Once you guys get in the band, it's hard. It's hard. Those thresholds are set high. It's like, man, I want a drummer like that guy.
Yeah.
The pressure's on. You guys have set the bar.
Hey man, and every drummer, that's what's unique is every drummer around here has their own unique style that's them, So yeah, and it's a good push for me as a drummer, man. When you see these guys younger coming up and their chops are unbelievable. It was a little different for like me and you because when I was growing up, we didn't have there's no internet, so you would learn from your regional drummers, right? And so now with the YouTube generation, these guys can just get on and they can take lessons for free with, anybody. David Garibaldi, any drummer out there is offering lessons. So it's a different time. I mean, we both, both age groups got there, but we had different paths, you know. I was that take the band flyer and staple it up to a telephone pole guy. Okay, that was my I guess it's my equivalent now of Facebook is I would go out there with a staple gun. Yeah, I got in trouble a few times too. And Richard Pop come up and said, "Hey man, you really can't do that." And he kind of laughed it off and let it go. So it's times are different, but to see these drummers, man, it's just mind blowing. It motivates me as a drummer today to get up and get better, and that's we all need that. We all need that push sometimes.
And that's why I love that Keith's done the drummers clinic. It's so cool to see. I hated that I missed it this year. It's so cool to see you in the videos in there, but that's to me. The danger of all musicians and singers and band members, it seems to be as much as we fight it, we try not to compete with each other, but we do.
Yeah.
And so to have a clinic like that where you say, leave the ego at the door. This is about just guys sharing, man, here's a lick. Can I learn something from you? Here's a lick. Yeah. And that's the kind of mentality I hope we can share across, guitarists and bass players and singers, that we have similar things. I talked to Keith a couple of weeks ago about that very thing, and I just think that is such a hat tip to the quality musicians, and they're not only good musicians, but they're good people and willing to say, hey, yes, I'm good, but these guys are good too, and they're I'm going to learn something from them. And I think that's really cool that there's a whole group of guys like you guys that are doing that.
Yeah, it's kind of following that same pattern. What we did in Shotgun 12 and Sevenfold was getting all these different bands on one bill and helping each other out. So the drummer hangout that you mentioned, it's the same thinking. And man, Keith's done awesome with that, because every one that I've been to, I've learned something from somebody. And this year I actually sit down on a kit and play with my left foot. And was doing some Zeppelin type stuff, and man, it just when I got to that point, man, where I could play again, and I proved it to myself. It was a very emotional time, because you're scared of the future, and what am I going to have to sacrifice now as opposed to the past, and it's not slowed me down. That's been the good thing is having that spiritual connection. And man, I can honestly tell you that I can almost do everything I could before now.
That's great.
And so every day I try to set goals like that. And so, yeah, again, the drummer hangout, getting back to that, it's an amazing thing. And it's great to see guys, like you said, drop the ego at the door, come in there and just, woodshed, man, play. So, props to Keith for that. And I've this year, man, was an awesome one as well because of John Taylor, and probably know John Taylor's story as well. Yeah, so me and John, actually, he helped me with Bob the Groove Stomper that I built. He fabricated it, took my vision, made it. So John's been his story has been a blessing to me, and so
he's a true miracle. I mean, just the fact that he can sit upright, and be alive even. I mean,
yeah. And I was telling one of my friends from Canada, he's a producer in Canada, a really well-known guy. And I said, man, it's crazy in this area. I said, you got a guy that falls out of a tree stand. He proves everybody wrong, and he's playing drums. I said, then you got the one-legged guy that's still playing drums. I said, that should tell you something about, that Eastern Kentucky coal miner blood. We're tough. We're tough folk. And so, it's my journey's been rough. It's of course I've had every emotion that you can feel. I mean, because every day, guys, I will say this, it's, when you're dreaming even, my dreams, I still have both my legs, and I wake up and I'll feel like I've got my legs crossed and then look down and there's no leg there. Phantom pain and all that yeah, that all that's real. So that it's kind of disheartening when you first wake up. You can either let that image sear in your head and just you can dwell in it and cry, or you can get up, put on the prosthetic leg, and just walk and do it. So that's been my motivation, man. Watching these other drummers, it's awesome coming out of this area, and just the fight that I had in me.
Yeah.
That's been huge, man, on my path
Mhm.
of getting me back.
So speaking about that, so what are your kind of short term goals for 2023? I mean, are you talking to anybody? Are you just kind of working on your fills and runs, or what's going on?
I had a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So short term, I am going to be doing a few gigs coming up
Great.
with some acoustic artists. So I'll be doing either cajon or possibly just snare work with brushes.
Great.
But my goal is by the end of the year to be playing my full kit with a band and doing some great rock music. And I am talking to a few people, actually. The man I mentioned from Canada, the producer, hopefully I would like to work with him at some point this year as well, and maybe do some tracks remote, record drum tracks. But yeah, this year for my short term is just to be out there really playing, man. I mean, because my walking is coming along really good.
Good.
Uh, yes, I do have to walk with a cane, but I'm walking and I'm upright. I'm not in a wheelchair, so I'm really excited actually about these gigs coming up because Melanie Lynn, a lady here, local singer, I'll be playing with her. I think on the 15th. So I need to check the venue, and I'll share that with
Yeah,
everybody.
please do.
But
Would love to hear about
yeah,
that.
yeah. But that's that. Just getting out there and being around musicians again, and just playing. That's really my goal for this year. And then long term goal is I definitely want to be recording, doing session work like I was before.
Hmm.
Have an original band, put something together that is playing out pretty frequent. That's my goal,
Hmm.
long term too.
Well, I know you well enough to know that is going to happen. So we're excited that when it does happen, you'll tell us about it. Share with us where.
Man, I'm excited because I was immediately when I started sharing the videos of me playing drums again. I got a lot of calls from people, and everybody's like, I would love to jam with you. It don't have nothing to do with you missing a limb. I love your playing and
Hmm.
want to jam with you.
It's
So
awesome.
I've had a lot to reach out to me, and man, I can't complain at all, brother. I'm alive. I'm enjoying life. And it's took a little bit to relearn the kit and play again, but I'm doing it. And I think the most rewarding thing, Greg, as a drummer, after I designed Bob and John Taylor built that for me, we set it up, and the first thing I played was Achilles' Last Stand by Led Zeppelin.
Nice.
And when I played that, I knew I had it. I was like,
Yeah.
I've got this. It's going to happen. I think the big thing too, Greg, we back to the short term is also just building my strength.
Hmm.
It takes a lot more effort to play with my remaining leg and just using the pad to hit. It takes a lot of effort to play. So I got to build my endurance up again.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's all on me, just eating healthy. And so right now I'm hitting the kid about every other day for at least an hour to 2 hours.
Good.
So building up again, and man, I'm just again, I feel blessed. Number one, to be alive, but to play again and live my life like I was before is just amazing. It's amazing. Uh, what the Lord's done for me.
Hmm.
So very thankful.
Absolutely. We're very appreciative that you were able to share that story with us, man. And like I said,
Well, thank
looking
you.
forward to hearing more music from you. So you still have a story to write.
Hey, that's right.
Yeah.
And I'll tell people, evidently there's a purpose for me in life
Hmm.
because it was a freak thing that happened to me. And the blood clots, I mean, could have went to my heart in my sleep and killed me. I may have never woke up. So the fact I woke up, yeah, I did. I lost my leg above the knee, but guess what? I'm alive.
That's right.
And, I have a 15-year-old son. So, uh, that's the number one drive really is him, just to do all this and show him that dad, is a fighter. And, that's been, I guess, my push, and that's been my fuel.
That's great.
And, I was really worried how he would react after this. It didn't bother him a bit. He said, Dad, you're still the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, and a lot of people, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people didn't know how to approach me when this happened. I think that people was really hurt by what happened, and they just couldn't believe it. It stunned a lot of people. So, some of my friends, I know that they was kind of delayed in coming around and everything, but it wasn't nothing bad toward me. It was just, what do I say, or how. And guys, I'm the normal Mike. You can come up and I joke about it. I was at my cousin actually runs a restaurant in Corbin called Bubby's Barbecue. His name's Marcus Shepard. Yeah, so I was eating down there one day, and I was in the wheelchair still, so it was obvious, my leg's been took off. And this guy comes up to me, and I seen him kind of watching me, and he was wanting to come up, and he said, man, what? I got to know what happened to you. And I said, this place is so expensive. Last time I was here, they wanted an arm and a leg, and then I negotiated with them. So, no, man. And he looked at me stunned, and I just started laughing. And he said, man, you're a nut. And he introduced himself. And so I joke about it, and kids, I know parents are sometimes worried, oh, no, what's my child going to say? I handle those situations great. It don't bother me. Because this is my new body, and I'll tell you what, man, I'm extremely blessed and happy. I mean, some people expected me, I think, to be down the dumps and just not play. No, I mean that's either it's just I'm stubborn, or I had that fuel and love for music, man. That's what's pushed me to get beyond this. And man, I appreciate guys like you, especially doing something like this and doing the video and the interviews is awesome. I mean, because we do have a story in Eastern Kentucky. It does need to be told. Mm-hmm. And we can get all deep about it, and talk about the Scott Irish influence in the mountains and how it. And me and Jessica, you mentioned Jessica Blankenship. She's a good friend of mine too, and. So yeah, you and her are just doing amazing things, and man, we appreciate it as musicians. We really appreciate it because I think we always knew in Eastern Kentucky we had something special, and now the world's finding that out through artists like Chris Stapleton, Tyler Childers, Sturgill, and then you got Jake Cohen, a young 15-year-old kid right now from West Virginia. It's killing it.
Oh yeah.
So. The world has found out about Eastern Kentucky finally, and man, that's awesome.
It is, yeah. And I personally enjoy speaking to it seems like each artist that I've spoken to, and most of them I've known for years since I moved here. I've learned so much just talking to them in an hour, and then I come away going, gosh, why didn't I do this 15 years ago? Why am I just now doing that? I kind of feel the same way here, Mike. I feel like, man, we've run into each other, but we've never just sat down and said, hey, let's have a conversation. And I think, when I started Musicians Forum with Luke Ramsey, we were sitting down and it's like, these conversations have to happen. And it's a one-to-one thing, but it's also a group thing where you have things that you've learned. You're like, man, let me just share it with you guys so you guys don't have to go through the same thing. I just, and it's up to us to kind of connect those and say, man, let's help each other out here because on our own, it's a fight,
Yeah, that's it's a beautiful thing, man. When you get artists together, like you was mentioning before, and sharing ideas and sharing tips on play and booking shows together, it just helps. It helps us all in the end. Especially traveling out of town and things like that. I remember, with one of my groups, for instance. We played in Knoxville, Tennessee a lot. And back then, man, it was regional. Like
Mm-hmm.
Lexington had their own vibe and scene going on, again, because there's no internet, right? So to see these bands, you had to physically go out and see them. And the way you found out about those shows was somebody called you up, or you looked at a telephone pole and see a hand drawn flyer. So I think a lot of that, even though the internet's came along and things, has changed a little bit, I think that still has merit. And so, going to these shows, we would travel out of town, and just put it out there as much as we could through magazines, stuff like that was around. And so we would go out of town. It was always nice to bring one or two Kentucky bands with you, because in Knoxville, it's a totally different scene at this point,
Mm-hmm.
right? Totally different kind of music. So we was bringing, we was influenced in this area by Lexington artists and Knoxville, kind of in between. And so these people was like, man, what's going on in Kentucky? All three of these bands was amazing. I just watched. So it kind of, I was blessed enough to see that all spread out a little bit. And when the internet came, I know some old school people says it's devil and it's the worst thing that ever happened. No, I think the way we use it sometimes, we have to. Networking's just different these days. So but going back to getting those bands together and doing gigs, it's a great thing, man. Like in the end, it only helps us all. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, brother, man, I appreciate you so much taking time and talking with me. I'm so regretful that it took so long. I'd hope I think it worked out tonight to do this, and I'm just really thankful for your time and your sharing your story. I know that's a little bit vulnerable coming from those places, but I think we all can be inspired by your experiences, and definitely want to cheer you on as you go through the developmental stages of starting back and playing again. And we want to come support you wherever we can. We stay in touch, most of the thing, and when we hurt, when we need, reach out. It's worth it.
Yeah, and that's I have had that support, man, locally. A lot of musicians, when this happened, they came to my side, and man, I'm blessed. People, again, like I mentioned, you and John, all of you guys reached out to me when this was going on. And so this area and all of us, it's special, man. To me, we got a special group of folks here. And so, yeah, it was awesome. Of course, I was very depressed when this first happened, but deep down I was.
Mm-hmm.
And so for you guys to come and just be supportive is awesome, and I appreciate it, man.
Well, man, I'm looking forward to more stuff. So,
hey, the future's looking good, brother. Like I say, I'm pulling out some of that Tower Power, jazz funk type stuff, fusion, and those Zeppelin licks as well. So I'm still playing, man. I'm still grooving, and that's my intent, man, is to keep doing this as long as I can do it.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Mike, I appreciate you, brother. Love you. Just keep going.
Love you, brother.
Have a good night, man.
You too.
All right. See you, buddy.
All right.
Bye.